Without giving King Cold time to react, Ayaka launched another attack. After a test, she did not intend to keep it back. Her body darted in the direction of King Cold, leaving a few remnants in the sky, and her body had instantly arrived in front of King Cold. For the sudden appearance of Ayaka without warning, King Cold's cold pupils suddenly narrowed, and a sense of danger through the nerves to the brain. Nerve trembling, with a wealth of experience, King Cold quickly made a response, turning the direction to avoid the attack. Seeing this, the corners of Ayaka's mouth raised slightly. Her turquoise eyes flashed with a cold, stern light. Since she chose to attack, how could she let King Cold avoid it? Her body wavered like a ghost, following the direction where King Cold had dodged and dashed up. Just a step in the void, it generated a cyclone visible to the naked eye. Those cyclones formed a huge ring of shock waves that stretched from the sky to the ground. Surprisingly, the ground exploded. The two tangled up and fought from the sky to the ground, and from the ground to the sky, rumbling explosions resounded through the sky. King Cold went to a lot of trouble to get rid of the other attack, but Ayaka always leisurely and easily pinned him to death. Such a persistent Super Saiyan. King Cold was furious. He shot a large wave of energy downward, but was easily dodged by his opponent without exception. At this time, he could already fully appreciate why the ancestors repeatedly stressed the fear of the Super Saiyan. This kind of boundless and unfathomable fellow was too difficult to deal with. Such a mistake. If I had known this before, I should have completely destroyed the Saiyans, and there would not be the scene today. King Cold regrets. The arrogant father and son did not take their ancestors' warning seriously, rather his youngest son Frieza was trying to eradicate the Saiyans for him. Unfortunately, the result was not clean. By the time the Super Saiyans appeared, it was only when they ate the bitter fruit. When the book was used, you hate it. The world was like this, but unfortunately it was too late to regret it now. A flash of light coalesced in her hands. Ayaka raised her right hand and sent a series of ki waves went towards King Cold. Light blue energy waves turned into dozens of beams penetrated the air. Along the way, the atmosphere was stirred up, like boiling water in a boiler, expanding away to the surrounding area, revealing several vacuum lines. Large beams of energy accompanied by electric arcs, and in the crackling sound of electric arcs, it attacked like a vicious wolf towards King Cold. Time froze. Not good. Sensing the heaven-destroying energy contained in the energy beam emitted by his opponent, King Cold's face turned white and his ice-cold face twisted and distorted. A look of horror flashed by, and King Cold knew that each of those seemingly tiny ki waves was extremely terrifying, and could be fatal enough. One was already so terrifying, but there were at least a dozen dense beams of energy shooting towards him. How can this king be defeated so easily? King Cold roared madly, his cold face looked extraordinarily hideous, and actually opened his arms to try to block. Suddenly. Bulge. Blitz. There were several cracking sounds, and most of the energy beams were blocked by the shield in front of King Cold's chest. However, 3 more energy beams penetrated the shield and struck directly at King Cold's chest. The 3 blue beams struck the chest and emitted a fiery electric light like a drill hitting a rock, burrowing through King Cold's chest at once and then through his back, surprisingly penetrating King Cold. Several mouthfuls of blood gushed out, and King Cold looked at his penetrated chest in disbelief. Impossible. Was I defeated? Is this the Super Saiyan? Cut the crap Frieza, you do not do a complete. Ho! Ayaka's body appeared above King Cold. The golden hair in front of her forehead danced with the wind, and her bright aura raged and burned, sizzling in dynamic calm. Her 2 turquoise eyes didn't have a single fluctuation, looking at King Cold, like a god on high declaring the verdict, the Frozen clan has been doing wrong for a long time, today it will completely disappear from the universe, and the first one is you, King Cold. With that, Ayaka raised her arm, and her small white hand was clenched into a fist and pounded down on King Cold. Go to hell. A fistful of force fell, and the solid aura generated around the arm slammed down on King Cold's skull. Suddenly, the sky seemed to be cracked as if covered with crystal cracks. Click, the sound of bones cracking sounded, King Cold's head deformed, and his two eyes were covered with blood. The powerful force penetrated the body, and a large ring of shock waves converged a few dozen meters behind him with another series of terrifying cyclones meeting the ground and going. After a short pause, King Cold suddenly accelerated, like a cannon shot from the chamber of a missile straight down. Rumble. After the deafening sound, the dust settled and the whole ground was completely unrecognizable. Red magma flowed in the gully, a pungent smell of sulfur spread out, the whole scene was like the end of days. After making sure that King Cold was completely dead, Ayaka smiled gently. She destroyed the corpse and then flew away from the battlefield. On the other hand, the merged launch and metal cooler were fighting to a standstill, gradually into the white heat. After the transformation of the metal cooler through the Big Geet Star technology, of course, the strength doubled to several 100 million combat power. However, Lancy and Launch were not bad. After a period of training in Grand Kai's planet, their individual strength had improved by leaps and bounds, and the combined body was comparable to metal cooler. Ayaba flew far away, seeing Launch and Cooler couldn't split the difference for a while, she accelerated towards Son Goku's position. In contrast, Son Goku was more in danger there. When she flew to the battlefield of Son Goku and Frieza, she found that they were surprisingly cloudy, countless golden lightning struck down from the clouds, and a scene of the world connected. On the side, Piccolo, Yamcha, Tian Shinhan and others had been seriously injured, especially Krillin. A hole had been opened in his abdomen, and blood could not stop flowing out, and he was already breathing in and out. What is this? Ayaka's eyes glazed over, stunned by their miserable appearance. Just one Frieza had made them so miserable. She slapped her head and realized that she had actually made such a low-level mistake. It was true that Frieza was no longer powerful in her own eyes, but he still seemed unattainable to several Dragon Ball warriors. She had not only underestimated Frieza, but also disguised as an overestimation of the strength of Goku and others. As the saying went, 100 secrets and 1 oversight, fortunately did not lead to a big mistake. To see Son Goku, who was confronting Frieza in the distance. At this time, Son Goku was full of indignation, his cold face was filled with killing intent with a burst of golden light flashing in his body. See this situation, a smile of surprise crept onto her face. Ayaka's eyebrows immediately rose, it looks like this is Goku's breakthrough to the Super Saiyan / Krillin's injury is not worthless. Compared to the original Krillin, who was dead before prompting Son Goku to complete the Super Saiyan breakthrough, now only seriously injured was already very good. But his stomach broke open a big hole, it should be very painful, now is not the time to be happy. Thinking about the surrounding people still injured all over the place, Ayaka quickly put away a smile. She then quickly walked next to Krillin and others, and gave them one senzu bean. After eating the senzu beans, everyone quickly recovered. Ayam climbed up and complained to Ayaka with a face full of anger, "Mama, that white guy hit me so hard, Ayam was so hurt by him. You have to teach him a good lesson. Really, Frieza is too strong, we did get a few hits before he put us down." Yamcha said in shock. "Thank you, fortunately you have enough senzu bean on you, otherwise I would have been in trouble." Krillin patted his chest with a worried and frightened look. "How is the battle going on your side?" Tian Shinhan asked. "Don't worry, King Cold has been killed by me." Ayaka simply replied. What's wrong with father?" Son Gohan looked in amazement at Son Goku who was surrounded by a faint golden glow. "This is..." Vegeta looked at the appearance of Son Goku and his mouth opened wide. His heart flashed with an unbelievable guess, damn, this look actually so similar to that female Saiyan called Ayaka, could it be that Kakarot is about to become a Super Saiyan? The golden aura around Son Goku continued to become thicker and thicker, flickering and fading, yet still appearing unstable. Ayaka looked away and affirmed, "Yes, it looks like Goku is about to become a Super Saiyan." Although he already had a number in mind, with the real affirmation from Ayaka, all of them could not help but shake their bodies, with shocked expressions in their eyes. Goku was already so strong, if he became a Super Saiyan, how strong he would become. Ayaka was the Super Saiyan. She was able to defeat King Cold in a short period of time. Her power was very intuitive. That meant that the gap between them was getting bigger and bigger. Vegeta's face was gloomy, as if everyone owed him a large sum of money. Once upon a time, he always thought that the most qualified to become a Super Saiyan was himself, but now he was surpassed by two people. One of them was actually a low-level warrior, and his heart was flooded with bitterness and powerful resentment. Vegeta was not much resistance to the fact that Ayaka was a Super Saiyan. After all, the other party was the new Northern Empress who ruled the Northern Territory. But to Son Goku, Vegeta very unconvinced. But it was lucky to get the guidance of the new Northern Empress, and now it's going to become a Super Saiyan. The distant sky was distinctly gloomy, just like a whole bottle of ink poured out. Black clouds overwhelmed the city. The dusky air filled with thick smoke, Son Goku's robust posture standing upright. His chest was bare, and his upper body clothing had been broken in the battle, leaving only a few torn strips of cloth around his waist fluttering in the wind. Sizzle, in a gentle sound, Son Goku's teeth clenched. His whole body bursting with golden light, and his hair sometimes black and sometimes golden, constantly transformed. At the same time, a large swathe of twisted and stretched cyclone from his body ejected. Those cyclones were either rising up to dispel the clouds and fog, straight through the clouds, or swooping down to the earth, but more in all directions, such as the tiger whistling ape cry to spread. The golden folded as if the gods descended from the world, mighty and extraordinary. When Frieza saw this scene, he could not help but reveal a stunned expression. The distance between the two people was not far, so it was the best way to experience the changes in each other. It was no exaggeration to say that at this time, with alternating hair color black and gold, Son Goku's body was undergoing a huge change, and the aura was rising. This change brought great pressure on Frieza. Hawking, a few muffled sounds, more than 100 golden lightning cut through the clouds, swooping down from a height of 10,000 meters. A large golden snake snaking and twisting, showing the charm of the top energy. As if to swallow the world, along with the golden lightning descending, a surge of appalling aura spurts out. At this point, Son Goku roared in place, the vast and majestic breath along with the sound wave began to rise. At the same time, the flicker of golden light around the body stopped. The body was wrapped in a thick layer of key flame, as if there is an endless supply of fuel for replenishment. Crazy burning. The black hair was instantly transformed into a golden yellow, and the black eyes were replaced by turquoise pupils. This was the Super Saiyan. Looking at the golden flame burning high in the air, and the expression of the cold Son Goku, everyone felt a pressure at the same time. They were overwhelmed by the perfection presented by the Super Saiyan. The process of transformation was turbulent and shocking, then the perfect Super Saiyan was mature within the waves of unrest. Dad! Transform into a Super Saiyan. Son Gohan opened his mouth with a face of adoration. Great, Goku's ki became so strong all of a sudden, much stronger than Frieza. This time Frieza must not be a match. Yamcha said excitedly. That's the Super Saiyan. Damn, surprisingly I was surpassed by Son Goku again. Piccolo's gaze focused, his eyes revealed shock, and his heart was extremely unsettled. Likewise, Vegeta also looked at the Son Goku who became a Super Saiyan. His face was like an ancient well, but a trace of doubt flashed through his heart. Strange, the same Super Saiyan, Kakarot's ki looks much lower than the female Saiyan called Ayaka. Is there a difference between the strength and weakness of the Super Saiyan? Once you think of the Super Saiyan, there might be strong and weak. Vegeta's heart rose a trace of excitement, and his 2 eyes were hot. Then, it must still be because of the bloodline. Could it be that the Super Saiyan was not a power level, but only a transformation state? Therefore, Vegeta confident rose. If only he could transform into a Super Saiyan, it was not hopeless to surpass Kakarot. Super Saiyan state, I must reach as soon as possible. As the prince of the Saiyans, Vegeta couldn't be surpassed by the inferior warriors for too long. He needed to bridge the gap and thus become the strongest warrior among the Saiyans. Ayaka narrowed her eyes. Her face lightly revealed a smile as she looked at Son Goku's power level. Goku's Super Saiyan transformation was broken in a state of rage. There is still a lack of control over the transformation. If he can really master the transformation, it will like the original. When he returned from planet Yardart, his strength can be doubled several times. The outburst in the state of anger was mandatory to cross into the Super Saiyan state, and the control of the Super Saiyan power was slightly lacking. Not as watery as Ayaka's initial transformation, his power level couldn't be the same as Ayaka's initial transformation, surging to nearly 100 million. But with 46 million power level, it is more than enough to deal with Frieza. High in the air, the sizzling flame calmly burning, and Son Goku's face expressionless, face rigid, flying in the air. A pair of turquoise eyes without a trace of emotion, staring at Frieza. In fact, when he saw the other side in the battle just now, Frieza had a sense of foreboding. Sure enough, this ominous premonition came true. This abominable Saiyan turned out to be a Super Saiyan. The power suddenly exceeded him. Super Saiyan, the appearance of one on planet Namek had already frightened Frieza, but now there was another one, and even broke through in the battle with himself. At this moment, Frieza's face was bitter. He wanted to slap himself twice, knowing that the other party was a Saiyan, but he didn't kill the other party at the beginning. Now he turned out to be a Super Saiyan whose strength far exceeded his own, and that mindset of playing eventually led to bitter consequences. This is a joke. Universe Emperor Frieza cannot die here. I need to escape. Frieza knew that he was no match. He had to find a way back for himself. The answer decisively chose to escape. Phew! Swoosh! Swoosh! A series of energy waves flung from his hands. These energy waves danced throughout the sky, like a cannonball, to form a huge coverage network, followed by the outbreak of a deafening explosion. Taking advantage of the visual barriers created by the explosion, Frieza turned around and sped away, turning into a stream of light towards the universe. Reality was such a bone. There were not many options for Frieza. This time it was impractical to rely on his father and big brother, not to mention that they could not rescue him in time. Looking at the female Saiyan standing in the distance and watching this side, perhaps his father was already in a bad way. Looking to cooler to save himself, it was better to dream. Frieza's escape speed was fast, looking to break out of the atmosphere. When he saw the deep background of outer space, he revealed a smile. The joy of survival after the robbery let him forget the failure suffered earlier. You seriously wounded Krillin and my companion, and you want to escape like this? Stay for me, Frieza. Son Goku's cold voice suddenly sounded next to his ears. The golden light brushed by. Son Goku had stopped in front of him. Like seeing a ghost, Frieza's heart trembled. He then roared in despair. He even rushed towards Son Goku, apparently wanted to fight for his life. As in the original, Frieza turned into an opponent of the Super Saiyan Son Goku. The strength of the two was not at all on a par. Not more than 2 times Frieza had been bruised. Like a dog, he completely lost his heroic posture as the Emperor of the Universe. Puff! The bright and dazzling ki chop round and lightly fly over, all the way to cut away everything, but the result. The look was stunned, the smile stiffened on his face. How could Frieza not have thought that his full force of the attack actually played off, and his move ended up hitting himself by mistake? His body split in 2, his left arm was broken, and his upper body and lower body were completely separated. How could? Frieza's face was bleak. What a sad downfall, but you are to blame for all this. Son Goku expressionlessly said, surprisingly turned his back on Frieza and walked away. Saiyan, I must kill you. Left with only the upper body, Frieza didn't know where to get the strength. He flew up and stretched out his claws to Son Goku, trying to die with Son Goku. Sensing the movement of Frieza behind, you're looking for death. Son Goku changed his position, ready to give Frieza a death blow. Just at this time a faint figure appeared in the middle of the two. Before he struck to Frieza, the figure was fast and swift, in a flash it held Frieza's wrist, and then force. Boom! Son Goku unexpectedly saw that Frieza's two eyes whitened deeply set into the rock layer, the forehead between the eyebrows had a fist-sized depression. I shook her head, smiling, you are still not decisive enough to the enemy. An enemy like Frieza, should be completely humanely destroyed. Son Goku froze and laughed in embarrassment. After he exited the Super Saiyan state, his golden aura disappeared, and his hair and eyes returned to their normal color. There, Krillin greeted excitedly, and slapped Son Goku chest hard. Goku, you're awesome, to defeat Frieza. If not in time to break through into that what Super Saiyan, the final result can really hang. Yamcha breathed a long sigh of relief. Although Frieza was destroyed, but unfortunately, the environment of planet Namek also ruined. Looking around the face of Namekian, Piccolo regrettably sighed, the planet no longer had the kind of nostalgic atmosphere that he missed. The ancient planet Namek, with its pleasant climate, was a planet where life flourished, but after the climate change, the traces of life on it declined very quickly. After hundreds of years of rest and recuperation, planet Namek temporarily recovered a little, but now it had been hit by a devastating disaster. This time the disaster was even more serious than the last climate change, and had already hurt the planet's foundation. In addition to the continental plate fracture magma spurts, there were pits and potholes everywhere after the battle, full of devastation, as if through the relentless blow of countless nuclear bombs, the planet's rotation cycle and orbit had been slightly deviated. There was also the dizzying rise of thick smoke-emitting fire, the pungent odor made people very uncomfortable. As in the original story, planet Namek was finished. Even if the planet could still be preserved, it was no longer suitable for the reproduction of life. The good planet was destroyed in this way, how could people not regret? King Cold and Frieza had been killed, there was only Cooler left. Piccolo asked, the guy called Cooler, can Launch and Lancey deal with it? Ayaka smiled brightly, a charming smile on her pretty face, the girl's strength is very strong, Cooler is not yet an opponent. It should be almost time to count. Although they were far away from the battlefield of Cooler and the girls, their keen senses were always watching the battle there. Compared to Piccolo's surprise, Ayaka was much more confident in her chest. She felt the two breaths in the distance, representing Cooler's that was decaying sharply. In contrast, the merged state of the girls was still bitterly strong. Piccolo smiled with relief, he had seen the strength of the girls, but had been unable to touch the bottom. However, he thought it was not weak. At this time, the North Kai's voice appeared in everyone's mind, the tone was very excited, haha good news, just now Metal Cooler has been defeated by the girls. Ha, I've been waiting for this day for a long time. You have done a good job, the Frozen clan finally died out, the North area can be considered peaceful. This time, North Kai did not restrict himself to a particular person, and everyone present heard his voice. For the sudden sound of strange voice, Son Goku and others were very alert, and thought that there was a big enemy attack. Their action seemed a bit comical to Ayaka, who grinned, couldn't help but giggle, and explained, the one who spoke is the North Kai, the ruler of the entire North area. Kai. That's right, I am the Kai, the ruler of the North area. I am ashamed to say that over the years, the Frozen clan has been a powerful force in the North area, brutalizing countless living beings, and I could not do anything about them. But now it is good, Frieza is dead, King Cold and Cooler are also dead, the North area can finally be peaceful. I would like to express my gratitude to you, you are the credit of the North area. North Kai said with high sincerity. Understand what was going. Son Goku and others feel a little embarrassed, scratching their heads. Oh, in fact, we did not help much. Frieza, King Cold, Cooler are killed by Ayaka and the girls. North Kai laughed aloud. No need to be modest, your name is Son Goku. After all these years, the Super Saiyan surprisingly reappeared, and two at once. Moreover, Ayaba, if not for today's attention to planet Namek, I would not have known that you are actually a Super Saiyan. Ayaka smiled sarcastically and did not answer the question. North Kai was not aware of everything that happened in the North area, like the fact that Ayaka was a Super Saiyan, which had been exposed a few times in the North area, but North Kai did not necessarily know until he got excited to explore. In fact, North Kai was not Supreme Kai, he just more than ordinary people to understand a channel of information. If this channel was not used well, he might not know what happened to the entire North area. Some planets above the arrangement of gods, in addition to protecting the planet where they were, also play a role in the transmission of alerts. If you count Broly, who was defeated by Ayaka, there were not two Super Saiyans. In fact, there were three. Even though Broly had suffered a fatal blow, she didn't think Broly would die so easily, based on the legendary Super Saiyan's outrageous life force. In the end of a short conversation with North Kai, everyone looked relaxed. The strongest three Frozen clan had all been killed, and the remaining cosmonauts were a piece of cake. The whistling light wind blew, the skyline appeared two black shadows, Launch and Lancey were flying towards this side, and arrived in front of them in a flash. What a hard work! Ayaka reached out and handed out two senzu beans. Lancey gently shook her head. She did not take them, but said, we also have senzu beans, we already ate them when we came back. Nodding lightly, Ayaka remembered that they also had quite a lot of stock in their hands, so she put the senzu beans in her hand back. This stuff needed to be used one by one, it was better to try to save a little. The battle was over, everyone was relaxed. Tian Shinhan looked at the severely damaged ground, and said, Planet Namek damage is very serious, but the good thing is not completely destroyed, as long as the Dragon Ball's here, it will soon be able to recover. But the Namekians have moved to a new planet and should not move back. Well, let's move around and get rid of all those cosmopolitans and go back to Earth. Krillin said with a twinkle of excitement in his eyes. In this suggestion, everyone quickly agreed. One by one, they were itching to get up. If the cosmonauts were weak, they were at least stronger than the Earthlings, and if they returned to Earth, they wouldn't even have a chance to fight. Among them, Iam's reaction was the strongest. With the small face fierce and angry face, children were the most vengeful. The previous hatred of being bullied by Frieza was instantly transferred to his men. Just when the decision to sweep the tail, a beam of energy sped over, the target was exactly Son Goku and others. Watch out! Son Goku's sharp-eyed immediately saw that the attack was launched from the mountain, the target was Yamcha. Between lightning and fire, Son Goku flashed in the void and decisively struck out, kicking Yamcha away. What's going on? Yamcha was confused for a moment, why did the good Son Goku kick him away? His body just landed on the ground, only to hear a buzzing sound, in the place where he was originally standing was issued a burst. A bowl-sized melt hole appeared in the ground, the surrounding earth layer was surprisingly high temperature melted into liquid. Seeing this scene Yamcha secretly said good luck, cold sweat immediately flowed down. If not for the timely action of Son Goku, he would have reported to the other world. What the hell? Everyone was furious, flames burning in several pairs of angry eyes. The strongest enemy had already been eliminated, so who was the one who struck? How could a mere minion dare to be so arrogant? That was not good enough. They turned his head and swept his eyes to the side of the hill. With a hint of doubt and anger, if the gaze could destroy the target, that hill would have been razed. A few clicks rang out, and when they saw the other party's true face clearly, they all revealed a look of dismay. Cooler? How is it cooler? wasn't he wiped out by the girls? He's not dead yet. Appearing at the top of the hill was a lime green figure. Surprisingly it was Metal Cooler who should have been wiped out. It shouldn't be, I clearly wiped him out. Launch was also very puzzled, clearly destroyed him to the point that not even the remnants were left. How did he appear again intact on the mountain? Compared to the enemy who just appeared in planet Namek at that moment of tension, a mere Metal Cooler was not put in their eyes. It was not, their side now had 2 Super Saiyans, and 2 combined forces could defeat Cooler, and a mere Metal Cooler, wasn't he seeking death? But next, something that made Son Goku more horrified happened to them. One after another green figure emerged from behind the rock. In a moment, it had surrounded Ayaka and others. The number must be at least thousands. What a joke. The smile disappeared, and Krillin's face turned a little white. This is a lot. How to deal with so many Cooler? At this moment, both Son Goku, who could transform into a Super Saiyan, and Piccolo as well as Vegeta could not be calm. A Metal Cooler required the combined efforts of the 2 girls to deal with, and here there were thousands of them. Several 100,000 of them against one person, even Ayaka couldn't bear it. Yes, now even Ayaka's face was extremely ugly. The power of a few Cooler she did not take into account. There were senzu beans in hand, and even more numbers could not withstand her to destroy one by one, but Son Goku and others were not opponents. Extremely strong individuals did not fear the combination of weak individuals. Even if their numbers were huge, the effect of the attack was not stackable. For example, Ayaka's ability to withstand 10,000 points of energy attacks, while the Metal Cooler attack only a mere 100 points. Imagine 10,000 Metal Cooler bombarded her, how could she not be harmed? A series of 100 came out and hit on Ayaka. Was she able to withstand the strongest 10,000? The answer was no. Girls, take Goku and the others back to Earth immediately. Good, Lancey, one of us, move quickly. Launch knew how powerful the Metal Cooler. He was much more powerful than the ordinary Super Saiyan, and it was easy to kill Son Goku and the others, so she did not dare to stay for a moment. She launched instant transmission to bring Son Goku and the others back to Earth. These Metal Cooler could only be handed over to Ayaka. By the time the girls left with the others, only Ayaka and tens of thousands of Metal Cooler remained in place. Boom! A proud and cold golden flame burns. Ayaka re-entered the Super Saiyan state, and all of a sudden the power raised to the extreme. In the previous battle with King Cold she did not take out her full strength. In a matter of moments, there was a violent shaking in planet Namek. The magma in the core of the earth began to surge and stir by the pull of Ayaka's powerful force. Hot lava shot out from the fractured plates of the earth. The moisture in the air boiled like ignited gasoline. The swish turned into a hazy mist. The temperature of the air rose by nearly 100 degrees, and the heat wave engulfed everything, as if it were a living hell. Female Saiyan, in front of my Cooler army, what is your personal strength? An overlapping voice echoed in the air. He thought he could overwhelm himself with numbers. Arrogant and cocky. Ayaka laughed coldly indifferently. The full power of Super Saiyan was not something that could be defeated by sheer numbers. Metal Cooler's power level couldn't even beat Android 17, so how could he defeat Ayaka at full power? Ayaka's turquoise eyes wavered slightly in divine light, and mentally made a decision. In order to prevent the emergence of leakage, it can only be completely erased from the universe along with planet Namek. To know, as long as one of the Metal Cooler escaped, it could replicate thousands of them, and even the appearance of hundreds of millions was not impossible. In order to ensure that nothing could go wrong, the most reliable way was to erase the Cooler along with planet Namek. When Ayaka made a judgment, Metal Cooler also received the instructions from the core body. A large number of metal bodies began to move at the same time, densely scattered from different directions towards Ayaka's direction. Immediately, the land and sky were filled with the silhouette of Cooler everywhere, and when she looked up, she saw a green blur. The ubiquitous Cooler overwhelmingly did create a strong visual effect. but Ayaka did not have too much to worry about. The corners of her lips lightly raised, looked askance and said, "The individual looks pretty good, but the number of ornamental will not work. It's the same as a flood of locusts." Cooler's face hung with a faint smile, the angular and stiff metal face was chilled. "Humph, you're trying to show off, and is still arrogant now. Later you will know my power." One of his metal body was eliminated by launch before, which already made him compare his own strength. Compared to the single body strength he might not be as good as the other side. However, Cooler had his backing, the number of men was his strength. In the thousands of metal body under a series of attacks, he believed that even the Super Saiyan couldn't resist. Time ticked away. A smile appeared at the corner of his stiff mouth. I wondered which metal body moved first. A swarm of metal bodies transformed into lightning next, and the emerald green light immediately shuttled through the air. Thousands of them, staining the sky green. Snapped, the flesh of the fist cutting a brief curve. Ayaka's eyes blinked, accidentally punched, just, coincidentally, hit a metal Cooler body. The green light shines, it stings the eyes hardly. Who would believe it? The metal body that was hit stared at the eyes. A huge force was transmitted from the chest, and the metal Cooler was hit hard in the back bulge, and then glided along the ground as if it were a cannonball shot at full speed. With a loud bang, the metal body hit the mountain range 10,000 meters away and disappeared after incredibly penetrating the mountain range. The overwhelming force had dispersed part of it when it hit the metal Cooler, and the rest was borne by the mountain range during the impact. However, it was this second collision that caused the entire mountain range, which stretched for tens of thousands of miles, to collapse and become history once and for all. Although it is not a flesh and blood body, but the feel is not bad. Blowing lightly on the white fist, Ayaka revealed a charming smile. With a single move, a metal body was disintegrated. This metal Cooler sucked in a breath of cold air and reacted violently, his heart bursting with fire. He narrowed his eyes. This female Super Saiyan is surprisingly strong. Oh, but this is interesting, she can block one of my doppelgangers, but I do not believe she can block all my doppelgangers together. Kevlar Cooler Legion, full attack. Ow! An overlapping shout echoed over with an aura like 10,000 horses galloping. Moreover, each horse was a powerful existence that was enough to obliterate a galaxy. The evil light swept through the eye sockets, countless suspended in the air metal Kevlar gradually formed a formation, and then in a certain formation towards Ayaka advance. If one didn't work, then together, the pile would all pile the opponent to death. These are all completed in an instant. What Ayaka had to face was a row of rows and rows of metal bodies. However, in another way, Ayaka also never wanted to fight with the metal Cooler one-on-one. The wheel war was the second most unappealing, and the important thing was to waste time. Ayaka wanted to wipe him out of the universe together with planet Namek. Phew! Golden light swooped into the midst of the vast army, blurred figures in the formation of a Cooler weaving, the sound of tinkling knocking incessantly heard, poof. Countless greenish metal bodies seemed to be offline kite-like shaking down from high in the air. The energy was at full power, and it was almost a punch. With a kick, the small, flexible body was like a heavy crusher, encountering those who dared to get in the way, all crushed. Metal Cooler was beaten by Ayaka without the ability to fight back. After the destruction of the metal body, a mess of limbs and broken bodies fell with a clatter, and soon, the following became a green metal dump. Bastard! How can she be so strong? Metal Cooler broke into a cuss. After seeing Ayaka's strength, he could no longer calm down. That Super Saiyan was too perverted, killing him was as simple as crushing ants, and if this went on for long, even more metal doppelgangers would not be enough to consume Ah. He must took the initiative. Instantly. All metal Cooler agreed, regardless of whether they were on the ground or in the sky, they all converged together in a spherical gesture to cover the entire sky. Death Ball. Overlapping shouts rang out, and the dense crimson balls of light intersected in the sky. The terrifying energy gradually formed a dense and impermeable giant net and came towards Ayaka. "It's a bit interesting." Ayaka revealed a hint of surprise and spread her hand. The huge energy chop leapt out and swayed from side to side on Ayaka's palm. "White moon / go." With a soft chant, the blue-white energy chop came out of her hand, and steeply enlarged the moment it left her hand, turning into a huge disk thousands of meters in diameter in an instant. Boom! 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 All of Cooler's death balls landed on top of the white moon / without exception. In one moment, the roar resounded through the sky, and the terrifying explosion generated incomparably hot heat, burning the sky red at once. At the same time that the amazing power of the explosion tumbled out of the terrifying cyclone, in order to overturn the sea spread out, a burst of shock waves in tens of times hundreds of times the speed of sound spread throughout the planet, and meet on the other side of the planet. After the violent impact, Ayaka's white moon / didn't dissipate, but impartially continued to follow the original trajectory, swallowing up the entire sky in a matter of seconds. The entire sky infested with the green figure of Metal Cooler, surprisingly, broke out of a circular cavity. The metal body that was hit head-on instantly turned into smoke and dust. Silence. The entire sky became silent. The Cooler Legion was frozen. That burning golden light flame, the beautiful blue-eyed figure looked as terrifying as a demon to him at that moment. Was Super Saiyan really invincible? Metal Cooler had experienced great joy and great sorrow, and was already on the verge of losing confidence. Dead silence, the opponent was so powerful, he could not recapture the former glory of the Frozen clan. When fighting he was still dumbfounded, especially against a strong opponent. Ayaka, of course, could not let go of such an opportunity. While the Cooler Legion was lost in thought quickly flew up, a stream of light flashed. Ayaka flew through the open area cleaved by the white moon / and soon flew out of the atmosphere to the high-altitude orbit 1,000,000 kilometers away from planet Namek. Her clear eyes were cold and incomparable, and her turquoise eyes were firmly fixed on the planet below. The original green planet Namek had now become grayish-yellow, passing through the thick smoke one could actually see a hint of red lava. On the side of the grayish-yellow planet, Akba noticed a huge silvery-white object creeping close to planet Namek like a giant tree with roots, and that was the technological core that controlled all the Metal Cooler Big Geet Star. Planet Namek, you follow the cooler and disappear. With a soft sigh, her hands were crossed, and a bright light was generated from her palms. Followed by a flash of thunder, the energy in her hands slowly converged and took shape, gradually turning into a basketball-sized silver-white ball of energy, surrounded by ghostly blue arcs of electricity crackling and flashing. A terrible aura emanated out, as if knowing the end was coming. Planet Namek became terrified and shifted unwillingly in orbit. Snort. The silver-white ball of energy in Ayaka's hand solidified and thinned, then steeply expanded into a huge thunderbolt 1,000 meters in diameter. Heavenly thunder shock surprise. Softly shouted, the huge ball of thunder and lightning puffed a few times. The dazzling light spread out to obscure the bright light of the planet at once, and the whole starry sky was compared to the shocking scene of the heavenly thunder shock surprise. With a rumbling sound, the terrifying ball of lightning passed through the atmosphere and came crashing down towards the continent. The air was stirred up, the earth began to tremble, and the magma burst out of the earth's surface, dispersing a dazzling red light as if it were a blooming flower, as if to play the last song for the end of the planet. Cooler angled his head to witness the massive attack. The strong light stung all the metal body, and he couldn't help but squint his eyes and shield his hands. The mutation of planet Namek had already stunned Cooler. Seeing the huge thunder coming at him and feeling the destructive energy contained within, how could he not understand what was coming, and his whole being went crazy. No. I can't die here. His face twisted and roared. In the midst of his reluctant roar, the heavenly thunder shock surprise landed on planet Namek. Almost instantly, the plate broke completely, and the tremendous energy knocked right through the crust and mantle, extending all the way to the core of the Earth. The core of the Big Geat planet was also inevitably annihilated. In the quiet and secluded starry sky, Ayaka watched from afar as the last glory of planet Namek erupted, followed by the earth-shattering planetary explosion but appeared slightly lost in color. So, the Frozen Clan has disappeared, but unfortunately, planet Namek cannot be saved. Ayaka was very confident that all the metal bodies had been destroyed. There was a loss and a gain. At the expense of planet Namek, the Frozen Clan was completely buried, and it was impossible to say whether it was a gain or a loss. However, as far as the North area was concerned, the eradication of the Frozen Clan was a huge victory. Just as she was about to move to leave, she noticed that the 3 nearby planets had undergone some subtle changes. With the disappearance of planet Namek and the spread of the tremendous energy that bombarded the planet, the balance of the 3 planet systems was broken. What followed would be chaos in this planetary system, and perhaps the planet would compete with each other. Of course, she couldn't rule out the possibility that the 3 planets would break up. After the destruction of planet Namek, another 6 months passed. After a cooling-off period, the Dragon Balls of Earth once again resumed their functions, and according to the previous agreement, Son Goku and the others gathered the Dragon Balls to summon Shinron out. Above the lookout, the golden bright light burst out from the 7 beads gathered to a piece, rocketing upward. The dark clouds that covered the sky hovered and gradually converged, shrouding the sky in a black curtain. It was not clear what the difference was between the dark clouds of Shenron's appearance and the black clouds of a thunderstorm day in the lower realm, that they could obscure a place like the lookout. Shenron, please resurrect the Namekians who were killed in planet Namek within 6 months. Sun Wukong spoke his wish to Shenron and then waited quietly. In the dark clouds, the mighty Shenron hovered its long green body, and its loud voice rang out in the sky, "This wish is easy and can be granted." Buzz, red light flashed, and the eyes of Shenron lit up with a blood-colored glow. This was Shenron exerting its divine power. At the same time, far away on the other side of the universe on the planet New Namek, those Namekians whose dead bodies had been preserved intact slowly opened their eyes, with a trace of confusion in their eyes, having all been revived. When the Namekians who were responsible for guarding the corpses of their clan members saw them come back to life, their faces showed surprise, and then they immediately reported to the Grand Elder. After learning of the situation, the Grand Elder leaned back against his seat with a relieved look on his face. "Oh, this is the power of the Earth Dragon Balls, and the Earthlings have kept their promise to summon Shinron and bring back all the dead clansmen." The Grand Elder was of high status, and the Namekians who were summoned were immediately convinced when they heard the Grand Elder said so, and then talked about it. The Dragon Balls also existed on Earth. This made them very surprised. Previously, they only heard the elders ask everyone to preserve the corpses of their clansmen, but they never thought that they would be revived with the help of the Dragon Balls on Earth. But the Dragon Balls over there could actually resurrect so many people at once, which surprised them a lot. Hearing the clan's noisy discussion, Nail frowned unhappily, and then reprimanded them to stop the seemingly endless discussion. "Is Muri here?" An old voice rang out. "I am here, Grand Elder." A short, fat, elderly Namekian's man stepped out of the crowd and listened to the Grand Elder with a reverent face. The Grand Elder picked himself up, his vicissitudes of face looked at the Namekian named Muri, and said in a deep tone, "Well, you have excellent ability of dragon race, from today, you are the Grand Elder of the new Namekian." What, the Grand Elder was actually going to abdicate? All at once all the Namekian revealed a shocked look, and looked panicked as they spoke out to try to change the Grand Elder's mind. The Grand Elder's abdication was a bolt from the blue for them. However, this was something that the Grand Elder had decided long ago, and the crowd's exhortations could not change the Grand Elder's resolution. "Everyone do not argue, I am old, many things are beyond my ability. Although the magical fruit sent by the Earthlings has added more than 10 years of life to me, the reconstruction of new planet Namek needs a new Grand Elder to lead. Muri, I hope you can let the Dragon Balls continue to play luster, proper use of the Dragon Balls. Seeing the unquestionable attitude of the Grand Elder, Mori nodded helplessly, yes. Your wish has been granted, goodbye. The 7 Dragon Balls rose high into the sky in a dazzling bright light, then split into 7, turning into white stones scattered all over the world. The dark clouds in the sky dispersed, and the sky returned to azure. The dark clouds just now is a vision generated by the Dragon Balls, that the Namekian really resurrected? Vegeta leaning against a tree, cold face through a few curious. They certainly resurrected. The Earth Dragon Ball can resurrect many people at once, but beyond the ability of the Maker cannot be achieved. For example, killing Frieza, Shenron cannot achieve a wish like that. So the Dragon Ball is not much. Vegeta disdainfully turned away. He stayed in the temple in order to see the power of the Dragon Balls. However, after hearing the limitations of the Dragon Ball, he immediately lost interest in the Dragon Ball. Even Frieza could not be killed, the Dragon Ball was no longer magical. He had to rely on its own efforts to surpass Son Goku. Kakarot, I am now temporarily overtaken by you, but soon I will defeat you. And that woman named Ayaka, Vegeta sooner or later will make you look up. With that, Vegeta jumped down the lookout without looking back. Goku, you seem to be on his radar. Krillin teasingly elbowed Son Goku. Son Goku laughed and said, Vegeta's not weak, I have a feeling he'll surprise me the next time we meet. Yes, you Saiyans are really perverted, the potential is deep. Expressing agreement with Son Goku's words, Krillin's face showed a few moments of concern. To say that Vegeta's potential was far more than theirs, the Saiyan bloodline should never be underestimated. Not to mention that Vegeta was someone with top talent, don't look as if they were countless times more powerful than Vegeta now, if not for the help of Ayaka, perhaps their strength would not even give Vegeta the qualification of shoes. As long as he was given the goal, Vegeta's strength would definitely skyrocket. More importantly, Vegeta was not a kind person. Leaving him on Earth was a blessing and a curse. However, Krillin was also clear that Vegeta did not dare to mess up. This point made his heart a little comfort. Son Goku and them would not be angry because of Vegeta's words, but Ayam was different. In her heart, Mama was the most important, must not be slandered by anyone. After listening to Vegeta's arrogant words before leaving, Ayam was very angry. Her face was red and filled with righteous indignation. Even I cannot beat the guy, there is nothing to drag. How dare you say to surpass Mama? Next time I'll teach him a lesson. That, he doesn't seem to be slandering Auntie. Son Gohan corrected in a whisper. Immediately, Ayam's angry eyes were cast over, and Son Gohan was startled and fled behind Son Goku in fear. But then again, where's Ayaka gone? It's been a long time since I've seen her. Yamcha looked around, the Earth's strongest people were basically all here, but only Kami Ayaka was not seen. Back to Earth in those few days, according to the strength of the people in the circle of the final harvest of the next planet Namek, Vegeta also came to Earth to Ayaba asked some questions. At that time, Vegeta was very modest. He came over to ask what he did not understand, and then he asked for understanding to sit alone and meditate under a tree. When he felt it was almost time to come over to challenge Ayaka, he was beaten and defeated, wounded and asked again, and so on. Because he was so arrogant when he left, he didn't have the consciousness of respecting the teacher at all. I also have not seen Ama for a few days. I heard that these days seems to have some big breakthrough, and has gone into seclusion. Isn't Auntie already a Super Saiyan? What other breakthrough can there be? Idiot, I have taught you things, have you forgotten? How can there be an end to cultivation? If the strength is strong, it can be surpassed again. Piccolo yelled at Son Gohan with an ugly face. Son Gohan immediately shrunk his head back. Speaking of which, Son Gohan was far more afraid of Piccolo than of Chi-Chi. As for Son Goku, in Gohan's eyes, he was a good father. So powerful, so soon there is a breakthrough. I wonder when I will be able to surpass her. Son Goku lifted his energy and clenched his fist in a spirit of exhilaration. After the original breakthrough to Super Saiyan made him a little confused. He was not sure of the future direction, but Iam's performance made him dispel the fog in front of him. There was a strong person in front for him to surpass, there was nothing more than this to make him happy. Anyway, we are hopeless. Well, it is better to intensify the training, so that you do not fall too far behind. Krillin laughed sarcastically. Us too. There were not a few people with the same fate. Hyperbolic time chamber, in the white boundless space. Ayaka was dressed in an avant-garde style of weight-bearing clothes. Her legs were coiled and floating in the air, and her two arms were coiled and intertwined in a thoughtful manner. A circle of transparent aura around the emanation, such as a mirage, so that the space produced some subtle distortions. On the other side, the merged Launch and Lancy was constantly practicing. After half a day, Ayaka, who had been a monk in a state of meditation, stretched her limbs, her feet touched the ground, and a round of light wind with the ground thick white dust slightly raised. Calm, relaxed, silent, but the next moment, the fierce terror aura spread without warning. Such as a tornado, the golden hair swayed under the action of the cyclone, a few clusters of golden hair on the forehead rose to the sky, and a few traces of lightning flashes up outside the golden flame. The girls sensed the change of Ayaka, and stopped cultivation to look up towards her side. On this side, Ayaka refloated and rose up, her body hanging upright in the air. The leather jacket of the upper body clings to the exquisite body, slightly loose under the chest, the hem was blown up by the strong whirlwind, revealing the delicate skin. Under the denim skirt two white and tender thighs are exposed, but at the moment they were covered by the burning gas flame. Ayaka is going to break through the Super Saiyan. The girls opened her mouth wide. Ding! As if a thin string snapped, the film that isolated the power was pierced at once, and the realm that had been suppressed for several years was finally released. Boom! The golden flames of the sky burst out abruptly, the spread of ki caused the girls could not help but take several steps backward. Subsequently, a more terrifying and deep whirlwind circled up, layer upon layer, wave after wave, such as the blooming lotus flower, flawless in revealing noble and elegant. The entire spirit of the time chamber's calm was broken by the terrifying cyclone, riotous to the extreme airflow filled every corner of the space. The girls gulped, the real suffocating oppressive feeling, as if a substantial weight pressed in the heartland. The golden light, silver-white electric arcs continued to sizzle, occasionally meeting, a crackling sound. Ayaka's entire body was wrapped in electric arcs, and the golden hair stood more erect. However, perhaps the female Saiyan hair was longer than that of men, with the flame-erect hair only the forehead and two sideburns, the back of the head and shaved to the shoulders of the long hair only a slight warp, not like Son Goku rose to the sky. Quietly fall to the ground, at this moment, the white dust rolled up more obvious. Glancing at the edge of the field of vision silver-white arc crackling flicker, feeling the powerful energy flowing through the body, Ayaka could not help but roar. Finally, I reached the second stage of Super Saiyan. Feeling the suffocating pressure coming from Ayaka from afar, the girls both surprised and enviously looked. At this time, Ayaka who was wrapped in lightning looked so dashing and moving. Is this the transformation above Super Saiyan? The girl's jaw dropped. Ayaka was surrounded by silver arcs of electricity, the crackling of lightning wandering in the golden flame. Both the aura and image of the first stage of Super Saiyan had undergone a radical change, looks much sharper. Breathe a sigh of relief, she opened her mind to feel the power of the second stage of the Super Saiyan state, and was satisfied to exit the transformation. As soon as the transformation state was lifted, the white dust floating in mid-air lost its upward momentum and slowly floated down to the ground. The empty, silent and vast space regained its calm after Ayaka withdrew her aura. The scene just now was like a phantom, came and went quickly, leaving no visible traces in the time house. When the hyperbolic time chamber was built long ago, it was empty except for a few houses for people to live in, and everywhere was white. The survival conditions were harsh. Although not comparable to the extreme environment in the universe, it was a good place to practice. Especially a good place to buy time for practice at critical moments.